Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of InstacarHK. Today I am with my 1989 Mercedes Benz W124 200E and my 1995 Mercedes Benz S280 W140. Now I bought both these cars within the last year that I've moved to Singapore, and some of you may remember when I first arrived in Singapore, I actually immediately bought a 2019 Toyota Harrier, a modern SUV just for daily usage. I actually made a video about it when I first got it, which I'll put the link on. And in that video, you remember I was talking about how expensive cars in Singapore are. Even for my 5-year-old Toyota Harrier, it cost me like over 100,000 US dollars. A big part of that money is on the what they call the COE, Certificate of Entitlement. It's a fluctuating price piece of paper, really, which as of today costs 140,000 Singapore dollars. That's around 110,000 USD. Lots of money just for a piece of paper. It's not road tax, it's not tax, it's not licensing fee, it's nothing. It's just a piece of paper that goes on for 10 years. Now, with these record high prices, I've decided to sell my trusty modern SUV, the Toyota Harrier, and replace it with these two old Mercedes-Benz as my daily drives. And today, I'll tell you why I've decided to do that. All right, so time to go for a drive. Most of you would know this S-Class is the W140, and it was produced to replace the previously hugely successful W126. It had big shoes to fill, the 140, because the 126 was, like I said, extremely successful and iconic. You know, it was kind of like the image of classiness, image of Mercedes luxurious robustness in the 80s. The 140 came in generally 3 variants: the 280, which is this one, the bottom line model, the 300/320, and then the 500 and 600 models. So the 300, 320, this 280, they're all inline 6 engines. The 500 is a V8, and the V12 is, of course, the 600 with the V12 engine, which is the same block as the one in the Pagani Zonda. So this one's the base model 280, which also means it's short wheelbase, because for the bigger models there's the long wheelbase, which is why you sometimes see, you know, S320L or something, designation like that, L for long wheelbase. The 280s, from my understanding, only came in short wheelbase, and its inline 6 engine has a whopping 190 horsepower, which is not enough for a car that weighs nearly 2 tons. But it's actually okay for the purposes of Singapore, because Singapore generally is very flat, less mountain, hilly roads like Hong Kong. So it's actually been okay, but underpowered, definitely. So why I bought this car? So first off, for those of you who have watched my previous videos, you may recall that I've actually have quite a good history with modern classic Benz from the 80s and 90s. I had lots of them back 15 years or so ago, where I kind of was collecting them. I've had 2 129 SLs, I've had 2 C126 SECs, a 500 and a 560. I have a A124, I've had the 210 W210 E55, E36, the super rare one. What else? I have had a 190E 2.516. So I have quite a lot of experience and love for these sort of 80s to 90s modern classic Mercedes. Wind back the clock to last year, about 14-15 months ago, I was surfing this internet on Singapore, SG Car Mart, which is like our 28 car in Hong Kong, as you do, and I came across this S-Class S280 for sale. Not too expensive. It was about, I think it was asking $17,500, which is around 100K Hong Kong. It was cheap because it only had about a year and a half of COE left, the notorious COE. So I thought, you know, why not I go look at it and, you know, and check it out. I thought it was going to be a bit trashy anyway, because a lot of the second-hand cars in Singapore, they're quite well used because people pay so much for the COE. It has a 10-year time limit, so people don't tend to, you know, keep garage queens and save a nice car for the next person, and rightly so. So I went to check it out, and surprisingly, for Singapore standards, this car is pretty good. It's in pretty good nick. When I bought it, it had 292,000 kilometers, which for Singapore standard is pretty low mileage, because the average here is usually 20,000 a year. That's like the bottom average. Because they like to drive to Malaysia, so they can cover a lot of mileage going to Malaysia. But this one, 292,000 kilometers, and quite believable. If you look at the interior, I mean, there are some broken parts, as you expect for a 30-year-old car with 200,000 kilometers, but generally it's in pretty good nick. The seats, I'm quite sure they're original leather, and in really good nick. And then I learned that it was because the owner before the seller was a gentleman who owned it for like 1 or 2 decades. Like he owned it for a long time, but then he was starting to get old, so he decided to sell the car. And the seller who bought it, he admitted he's a Mercedes enthusiast. He likes to buy these modern classic Mercedes, fix it up, and then sell it for a profit. So it looked good, and mainly I was attracted to the color. Dark blue, and also the very nice and starting to get rare 18-inch AMG monoblock wheels. I think that really makes the car, makes the look of the car. So I tested it just in the car park of the seller, and like I said, because of my experience with the Mercedes, I kind of knew how the car should sound, how it should drive, and it sounded and drove like how it should. And then I bought it. I bought it without even going to a garage for BPI. I didn't even bother, because to me, for that amount of money, if the car turns out to be a total dud, if it was, an incident car, whatever, I can just scrap it. For a car this age, they call the body value. It's not worth much anyway. So if I scrap it tomorrow, the government will refund me all the leftover COE, the leftover tax anyway. So I won't lose much, maybe a few thousand Sing if I were to scrap it tomorrow. But very fortunately, the car turned out to be exactly what I thought it would be. In very good condition, very solid, very quiet, drives like it should. And for some extra context, I forgot to mention, I actually used to have a 140, again, around 15 years ago in Hong Kong, same color, and that one was really nice. It was a 320. I was able to find a Lorenzo body kit for it. I had 20-inch barbless wheel on it. It looked really gangster. It looked really nice. I sold it, and actually the car, I believe, is still well and alive in Hong Kong. The owner after me changed it to black color, which is a very good decision. So particularly the 140, I always had a soft spot. Anyway, so that's why I bought the car. And basically, I bought it as a toy, on the side. And then basically, I started liking it more and more, to an extent that I was driving it more than my modern SUV, the Toyota Harrier. Because this is a black plate, so you can drive it every day. It's not a classic plate car. And I really like it. And for those of you who are into classics as well, you get what I mean, especially with these 90s modern, very usable modern classics. If you talk about just normal speed and normal driving, point A, point B type, these older cars actually have a lot more character and a much better feel than modern cars. So in my case, this was a lot more interesting for me to drive than the Toyota Harrier, even though I'm just doing like 60 kilometers per hour around Singapore streets. It's not like I'm racing anywhere. And same goes with my Volvo 850 T5R in Hong Kong, which is why it became my daily in the end, because even in slow speeds, these older modern classics are just more interesting to drive. So I realized I was driving it more and more. Then I started thinking, hey, this is actually doing pretty much 95% of what my Toyota Harrier was doing. My Toyota Harrier, the COE would expire. It was 5 years old. It is 5 years old. It will expire in 2029 because it's a 2019 car. And I did the calculations. If I drove it until its death, and let's say I scrap it, and because it's a newish car, I get some more money back if I were to scrap it. But basically, I would pretty much lose 90% of the 110,000 US dollars that I had spent on it, including finance fees and whatnot. And that I really couldn't swallow. Yes, it is the way it is in Singapore, but I'm still new here. I mean, I have a lot of experience in losing money on cars, trust me. But to lose it like that, like 90% confirmed loss, because a lot of it is on the depreciation, on the COE and whatnot. So it's confirmed loss. It's not a matter of whether, you know, you find a good buyer and sell for a good price. It doesn't work like that. You lose 90% of the value for sure. That's fixed depreciation. And that I just couldn't swallow because, again, you know, 90% is a lot. 100,000 plus US dollars is a lot. That's like, I lose like 750,000 Hong Kong dollars basically. And losing it on a freaking 2019 Toyota Harrier, I just can't. So once I decided, okay, you know what, I can use this modern classic Benz as my daily, I started playing with the idea of selling the Harrier and just using this as a daily. Why this is better, it's not that the COE is any cheaper, it's not. It's still same price because still the category B, which as of today is 140,000 Sing. So that is about $850,000 Hong Kong and around 110,000 US dollars. Okay, for a COE. But this car, you know, there is an option in Singapore to renew only 5 years of the COE, i.e. half the original 10-year duration. So you pay half price. But the catch is you can only renew the car for 5 years once. So you can't, oh, you know, lately the COE price is high, so I'll renew it for 5 years and wait until hopefully 5 years later the price will drop. No, you can only renew it 5 years once, after which you either scrap the car, which is what most people would do, or if your car is old enough, you can change it to the classic plate, which is what my Spitfire is on. And if you want to know what classic plate is, you can watch my Spitfire video. And this car is 1995, so this year is already 30 years old. In a few months' time, when its COE expires, I have the option of renewing it for 5 years, so for half the price. And then 5 years later, if I'm still here, if I still want to keep the car, I can change it to classic plate. Now, the sacrifice for a classic plate is, of course, you can only drive it for 45 days a year. But the advantage of a classic plate is the COE is only 1/10 of the original price. So today, the COE is 140,000 Singapore dollars. If it's a classic plate, it will just be 14,000 Singapore dollars, which is a lot cheaper. And yes, the 45-day thing is a sacrifice, but you know, I have this, I have the 124, I have the Spitfire, I have 3 cars, and I actually don't drive that much in Singapore. I don't really drive to work. I take the MRT to work, so I only really drive on weekends. So I do have some confidence that if 5 years later I'm still here, I still want to keep the car, I can live with the limitation of the 45-day classic permit. So yeah, basically that is why I have decided to change it to a modern classic Benz. Now it's not for everyone. I don't think I found this hack that no one knew about, and you know, everyone will start doing it after watching this video, because to drive and maintain a 35-year-old car is not for everyone. I just happen to be a classic car enthusiast, and I have experience with classic Mercs. I'm confident with using a classic Mercedes as a daily. And I'm also well trained. Like if God forbid the car breaks down tomorrow and I have to wait on the roadside for a tow truck, been there, done that 1,000 times. But that doesn't work for your everyday person. They want a car just to get to a point A and point B. They don't want all the sort of effort and trouble, potential trouble that goes in between. And I'm also very lucky that because of my channel and my Instagram account, I've met a lot of friends here and before I arrived in Singapore and after I moved to Singapore. So I was able to get into the classic car network and scene quite quickly, knowing a few garages, a few people referred me to good, reliable garages. So I've been in good hands since very early on, which gives me this confidence to use a modern classic Benz as a daily. Anyway, so that's the whole story, and so far the car has been great. I love it. And let's move on to the 124 and why. I'll tell you why. Despite already having this 140, which is quite good, does everything I needed to do as a daily, why do I still need to go and get another 124, and what's the story for that one? I'll catch you there. So now we come into the W124. So This is a 1989 Mercedes 200E. I bought it just a few months ago, actually, and there's only one single reason why I bought this car, and that is Mrs. InstacarHK. Because when I first told her I was going to sell the Harrier, which she also drove, she was extremely angry because she liked the car, you know, she got used to it, and then I told her, nope, we're selling it. And she made it clear she would not drive the 140 S-Class. Reason being is simply too big for her to be comfortable in. Now, yes, the S-Class and the Harrier, I haven't done the measurements, but it's probably not too different in terms of size, given modern cars are pretty big. But then the Harrier is a hatchback, and then it has a lot of technology like rear view camera, very accurate sensors, etc. So it's fair for her to be comfortable in that one, but not in the S-Class. So I need to get a car for Mrs. InstacarHK because she does drive in Singapore. She sometimes have to pick up Junior, she sometimes go out and does her own stuff and whatnot. And it would be pretty pointless if I go out and buy another modern car for her, a small modern car for her, because then I would run into the exact same problem as I did with the Harrier, with the COE that I have to renew for 10 years, very expensive, etc., etc. So I decided to reuse the formula, which I did with the S-Class, and find another classic Mercedes, but this one small enough for her to drive. And lo and behold, is the 124. And aside from the size and the 124 being known to be robust and reliable, which I'll go into later, one of the reasons why I got the 124 particularly is because it is old enough. It is old enough. This one is a 1989, so it's already over 35 years old, which means that whenever I want to or whenever I need to, I can switch it to the classic scheme immediately with the cheaper COE. Reason for that is I don't want to get another 30-year-old car where I need to renew the COE for another 5 years, just like the 140, because then that would defeat the purpose. I already have to do the whole 5 years half price COE thing for the 140, which is hardly cheap. If I get another car for Mrs. InstacarHK, which I have to do the same, that means I'm ultimately paying for 10 years of COE. So I might as well just keep the Harrier and renew it for 10 years. And another thing why I'm happy to go with the classic scheme, aside from the 45 days thing, which I think I can live with, as explained when I was in the 140, is that a car under classic scheme still has value. You know, it's still worth, this one may worth 20, 30, 40,000 Sing as a classic scheme. But a modern car which has its COE expired is pretty much worthless, like the Harrier, and obviously you can't use it without the COE. Hence, I go through this classic scheme way, which I think fits me. This car has about 4 years of COE left, and it cost me about 40,000 Sing, so which is about 250,000 Hong Kong dollars, which for Hong Kong standard is a lot, but for my use, for my finances, for my maths, I think it's worth it. And ultimately, with the combination of this and the 140, I save more money and lose less, most importantly, lose less than the keeping the Harrier. Now, a bit of background of the 124. It's what you call today the E-Class. It was the replacement for the W123 back then. It's meant to be a compact luxury Mercedes for your businessman to drive himself to and from work, for the missus to drive, etc. But even though it's a baby Benz, it's not as luxurious as the S-Class. When it came out, it actually had a lot of new technology, including multi-link rear suspension, automatic headrest, and in fact, although it looks like a box, it's actually a very aerodynamically sound. It's got a really low coefficient rate. When it came out, it made a hit, and the 124 remains to be one of the most iconic Mercedes ever made, a very important model because it was high-tech, it was robust, it was reliable, it was the peak of the so-called over-engineered era of Mercedes Benz. They were so reliable and so well made that in Europe they used to use the 124 for taxis. So these cars are known to be able to do millions of miles without any issues. This is a 200, the lowest base model. The 200 is a 4-cylinder 2.0 engine, petrol engine with 118 horsepower, so hardly powerful. Mercedes did come out with more powerful models like the 260e, the 300e, which are 6-cylinder models with 150 horsepower plus. Of course, the big dog of the 124 is the 500e, participated by Porsche. That one has 350 horsepower, but that's the big dog, but that's only left-hand drive only, and very collectible model these days. But this one, despite being the base model with only 118 horsepower, is very responsive. Like whenever I kick down, the transmission is extremely responsive. It kicks down, so that really makes up for the lack of power of the car, thanks to the good maintenance of the previous owner. Why I chose this one is because the seller, the previous owner, was a really passionate guy, around my age, if not younger, and really fixed up the car. He really loved the car. He has a IG page dedicated to this car, just recording the journey, and he fixed a lot of stuff, some DIY, some he went outside. He did the body work, he did a lot of interior work, he got a lot of garage to look at the engine, including looking at the tuning of the engine to improve the fuel consumption, to make it more normal. He had the gearbox looked at. So basically it's a very well looked after car, which is quite hard to come by because 124s are really well used, and all the 124s I've seen before this one, although they may be cheaper, they are so tatty. They are so tatty, and you just wouldn't want to buy it even if it was free. This one, because I had many owners before, it is not perfect. It is a bit tatty. Look at these interior trims are falling apart, but mechanically, because of the passion and enthusiasm of the ex-owner, is actually in very good nick. I'm okay with it. I mean, it's just a normal car at the end of the day, normal 4-cylinder car. It's not as luxurious or as nice to drive as the 140, but the big question is, does Mrs. InstacarHK like it? Now, I'll be honest, when I first told her I was going to buy this, she was extremely angry. Like, I mean, she's just a young lady. She wants a normal modern car. She's not asking for a Ferrari or anything. But I don't think many young ladies would be happy with a boxy looking 1989 124. So she really hated it, truth be told. For the first few weeks after I bought it, she literally refused to drive the car. She just refused to drive it. But of course, push comes to shove, she needed to pick up Junior and whatnot, so she was forced to drive it. And I'm happy to share that after driving a few times, she reluctantly admitted to me that she actually quite liked how the car drove. Two things mainly. One is the size. The car is very compact and small, and ladies, they like driving smaller cars. And more importantly, Mercedes of this era, all the controls are quite heavy and firm and solid, and she actually prefers that over the modern Japanese cars with lighter steering, lighter pedals and whatnot, because it gives her more sense of security. It gives her more confidence. So she actually admitted that she actually quite enjoyed driving this car, and was, to quote her, a lot better than she had anticipated. So far, this plan of mine, this very brave plan of mine to replace a modern SUV with two modern classic Mercedes have been working quite well. Now, I haven't really dived into the details of how both cars drive, but depending on the response I get for this video, if you guys let me know. I can do specific review videos on either the 124 or the 140 or both of them, if you guys would like to see it. So I hope you enjoyed this video on why I replaced my modern SUV with two old Mercedes. If you did, please give us a like, please subscribe, please remember to click the bell button next to the subscribe button so you know when our next video will be coming. Thank you and have a good day. Now I'll show you the responsive kickdown. See, immediate response, very good. And I'm not breaking the speed limit yet, even doing this, which is great.